can someone please tell me what is going on with Francis Ngannou? The guy hasn't fought since last October. I mean, he put on a spectacular performance, guys, I can't lie. But he hasn't fought since. And guess what? Guess what? Guess what, guys? We had a very special event take place on the weekend, and that is PFL Africa. They've had two events actually. They've had one Saturday, July the 19th, 2025, and they also had one recently, Saturday, August 9th, 2025. And Francis Ngannou was nowhere to be seen for either one of them. So what is actually going on? Because nobody has heard anything about him fighting. I don't know what's going on about him fighting, and he's only getting older, guys. And you know what? As much as the UFC are to blame for negotiations breaking down with Francis and, for things not going as planned, they're both to blame. But as an outsider looking in, I'm not gonna lie, Francis definitely looks as if he is part of the problem, because since you've been at the PFL, let's actually get his fight record up. All right, so since he left the UFC in January 2022, and he has fought once since that. Oh my gosh. Look at this resume. Guys, this is appalling. This is actually appalling. Everyone wants to blame the UFC and make out that the UFC were to blame for everything. They don't pay fighters enough. But, looking at Francis's resume, not necessarily the resume, how frequently he fought, I'm starting to think that he was part of the problem. So the last time he fought was in October 2024. That's essentially a year ago. Then before that, the last time he fought was at UFC 270, 22nd of January 2022. And then before that, the last time he fought was the 27th of March 2021. And before that, the last fight he fought before that was at UFC 249, 9th of May 2020. And then before that, the last time he fought was in 2019. So since 2019, he has literally had one fight a year. Literally. And now it's 2 years since he last fought. Obviously, he had his boxing stint. I can't remember when that was, but we don't really care about that. We're talking about MMA. And this is quite shocking, to be honest. Let's scroll a bit further down. Yeah, I can't lie. That's shocking from Francis. Francis, my African brother, what is going on? Because I don't understand. Is he not speaking to you? Is Kamaru not speaking to you? I don't understand. Listen, I know he went through something very, very traumatic. Obviously, he lost his son. And I'm not even going to speak on something like that because something like that is very deep, and I can only imagine, what he must have been going through and how how mentally tough that must be to deal with. So I can't really speak on that. But I want to know what's going on with Francis Ngannou. And this just proves to me the PFL is a useless organization, because how can you have PFL Africa and you don't have one big significant figure from the MMA, let me rephrase my words. PFL should be ashamed of themselves. And to be honest, they've definitely fumbled the bag with this one. Because how can you put on a PFL Africa event and there's no Francis Ngannou? That he is potentially your biggest fighter in PFL. Brings the numbers. People want to see him get the knockouts. And if he went to Africa, that would have sold a lot, because a lot of people would have wanted to come and see him. So I just don't understand how they've managed to fumble that. Or Is it Francis that's the issue? And this just proves to me why the UFC is at the top of all these organizations, because if this was the UFC, they probably would have given Francis an ultimatum. It's either you fight or we get rid of you. Because it doesn't make sense. You think UFC are going to have UFC Africa and not have, okay, Dracus du Plessis is champion now. If he beats Hamzat Chimaev, you think when the UFC eventually do go to Africa and Dracus is still the champion, do you think they're not going to have him headline that show? First time in Africa, and you don't get an African fighter to headline the show. Furthermore, an African champion. Make it make sense. Or is Francis the problem? This just doesn't make sense to me, guys. Obviously, Francis hasn't really been in the public eye as much as before. As we all know, he had a little car accident or something a couple of months ago. So, you know, maybe he's still dealing. I'm not going to lie, it's a lot of trauma to deal with, man. I'll be honest, especially coming from where he came from originally, then losing his son, and then accidentally killing someone. Like, it's a lot to deal with mentally, but honestly, from the looks of things, he should just retire, because at his age, to be doing a sport like MMA and be fighting once a year, like, there's actually no point. You may as well just retire. Like, what is actually the point? I mean, he's come in, he's made his money, he's been in a couple films. How old is he now, actually? He is 38. Okay, so he's still got a little bit left in the tank. He could still have a few more fights, but it's like McGregor, yeah? The only difference between Ngannou and McGregor is that Ngannou has power, so all he needs to do is land, and he could potentially finish that fight very quick. But this is the problem with fighters. When you get to a certain age, yeah, even if it's 2 fights a year and you're still training, you need to, because as you get older, your body does start to decline. So you need to keep your body working. It's very important, because if you don't use it, you will lose it, especially as you get older, and that's just the truth. So with the age he's at, he hasn't fought in a year. Like, I'm not going to lie to you guys. You see, at this point, you know what I want? I could tell you guys what I want. PFL, UFC, please, for the fans, for the MMA community, please, I beg. If you guys do this, all of us will be so happy. In fact, you will feed generations. You will feed generations unborn. So please, UFC, as you can see, John Jones, he doesn't have an opponent. Tom Aspinall is fighting Sirugan. Please, in the next couple months, do a deal with each other. Split the revenue. We want John Jones versus Francis Ngannou. We deserve it. With all the shambles and shenanigans that you guys have been doing, both promotions, we deserve this fight. I beg. Give us what we want. Make the fans happy. I'm telling you, you will feed generations unborn. Our children's children will be talking about this fight. Even if you don't make this fight, our children's children will be talking about this fight. They'll say, ha! The MMA community, the MMA world, they fumbled. Oh. John Jones, the GOAT, and Francis, the giants, they did not make the fight. Shameful. Absolutely shameful. So that's what I want to see, guys. I would like to see John Jones versus Francis Ngannou. That's probably not going to happen. But honestly, you see MMA now, yeah? I don't know, man. We're in a very, very weird spot, and I've been saying it for a while. It's in a very weird spot, like, especially the UFC. I'm going to do a separate video breaking down, you know, what's actually going on with the UFC, because it seems like they've got a new module in place. It's not really about the best fighting the best anymore. So, yeah, I don't know, man. MMA is in a very, very, very weird spot. And it's coming to an end of an era, because a lot of fighters from, you know, the era that most of us would have grown up on, they are slowly retiring and leaving the game. So, but let me know what you guys think about this whole Francis Ngannou situation. To be honest, it's a bit of a liberty he made it seem as if the UFC was the problem, and it's clear to see that he is actually part of the problem. So, let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Like and subscribe. In a bit, man.